Scott Bessent says that you walked back your comments on Davos in a conversation with Mr. Trump. Is that the case, Prime Minister?
As I said, well, first off, the President called me yesterday. We had a very good conversation on a wide range of subjects, ranging from situation in Ukraine, Venezuela, Arctic security. We discussed as well what Canada is doing positively, and this is the context of our discussion, what Canada is doing positively to build new partnerships around the world. I explained to him our arrangement with China. I explained to him what we're doing, 12 new deals on 4 continents in 6 months. He was impressed. And what we intend to do going forward, as well as the opportunity to, of course, move forward on CUSMA. You will note that Mr. LeBlanc had discussions with one of his counterparts in the last 36 hours about some of the modalities and things on the way forward. But to be absolutely clear, and I said this to the President, I meant what I said in Davos. It was clear it was a broader set of issues, that Canada was the first country to understand the change in U.S. trade policy that he had initiated, and we're responding to that. We're responding positively by building partnerships abroad. We're responding positively by building at home, and we're prepared to respond positively by building that new relationship through CUSMA. He understood that, and it was a good conversation, as I said.
So you didn't walk back your comments?
Today, Junior, this whole speech by Mark Carney, it just seems like he has well rehearsed what he needs to say in front of a camera, because what he actually said is not much. There's a number of minor contradictions. You can see him denying that he walked back in his Davos speech by calling Trump, right? And U.S. Secretary Scott Bessent very aggressively said that he walked back on those remarks. He's calling him out. And Carney's like, no, I said what I meant. You know, Trump, I told Trump exactly that. But when you look at what actually happened, guys, the timeline, the behavior, the language, guys, this is all just damage control disguised as defiance. Because saying you stand by your speech while calling to explain your China arrangement after Trump threatens you with 100% tariffs, guys, is functional walkback. Even if you don't want to admit it, that's basically what it is. And this is what retreat looks like when you can't afford to say you're retreating. And guys, let's go through this article a little bit here. It goes, as cross-border tensions with Washington persist, Prime Minister Mark Carney is denying he retracted his provocative Davos speech in a call with U.S. President Donald Trump, and later said almost nothing is normal in the United States right now, because everything is normal with Canada right now. To be absolutely clear, and I said this to the President, I meant what I said in Davos, Mr. Carney told reporters. U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, speaking to Fox News on Monday, alleged that during a call with Mr. Trump, the Prime Minister was aggressively walking back some of the unfortunate remarks he made at Davos. And obviously, we're in a bit of a he said, she said situation. We don't really know how that conversation went. We don't really know, as viewers, what Trump is like, privately. We don't know what's happening behind closed doors. Everybody has to have their own level of optics when they're speaking in front of a camera, because it's always optics for political points. Carney's going into, Canada, but Carney specifically as a politician is going to be going into an election cycle soon as well. So he can't be seen to look weak. He just simply can't. And it goes, Mr. Carney twice denied this Tuesday and offered some rare commentary on the U.S. when asked if he could guarantee normal trade negotiations with Canada's southern neighbor. The world has changed. Washington has changed. Almost nothing is normal in the United States. And that's the truth, the Prime Minister told MPs. So I want to stop right here and really talk about this, because what's actually happening here? So Bessent's claim, Carney's very aggressively walking back the Davos remarks over this phone call with Trump, right? What's Carney's response? I meant what I said in Davos, guys. And what else does he say here? He also says almost nothing is normal in the U.S. So he's doubling down publicly, talking tough, even calling the U.S. subnormal. But here's the question: if you're truly standing by your Davos speech, why are you calling Trump to explain yourself as to your actions? Why do you have to sell what you've done to the guy that you've publicly shamed? Quite literally publicly shamed. That doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. It goes, speaking to reporters on Tuesday, Mr. Carney said the U.S. president called him on Monday to talk. We had a very good conversation on a wide variety of subjects, ranging from the situation in Ukraine, Venezuela, and Arctic security, Mr. Carney said. He said he explained to Mr. Trump what Canada is doing to expand export markets worldwide, including China. The president has threatened a 100% tariff on Canadian exports if Ottawa signs a free trade deal with Beijing. Canada-U.S. Trade Minister Dominic LeBlanc has said no such pact is in the works. I explained to him our arrangement with China. I explained to him what we're doing, 12 new deals, 4 continents, 6 months. You guys heard him. He told Mr. Trump that Canada is also ready to move forward with the scheduled review of the USMCA. And I'd like to stop right here, guys. Think carefully about what just happened right here in this article. What Carney did in the call, he explained the China arrangement. He explained what Canada's doing, 12 new deals, 4 continents. He said that Canada is ready to move forward with the USMCA review. What does this mean? This literally means he's reassuring Trump. He's justifying himself. He's explaining himself. He's literally trying to justify his actions to a foreign government, to a foreign president. Why do you have to do that if you don't answer to him? If you're truly independent, sovereign, why are you answering to him? But here's the timeline, guys. Carney gives the Davos speech. Middle powers must condemn economic coercion and even by allies. Obviously, he meant Trump with that. January 24th, Trump threatens 100% tariffs on Canada on the China deal, basically next day. What happens after that? Trump calls Carney on Monday after the tariff threat. What happened in the call? Carney explained the China arrangement. Guys, so let me get this straight. You give a speech saying middle powers must publicly condemn economic coercion by allies. The ally threatens you with 100% tariffs, and you call to explain your China arrangement. It's not standing firm, guys. That's explaining yourself after getting smacked. Bessent's description, very aggressively walking back, seems accurate. It seems accurate. Carney didn't literally retract the words, but his defensive posture in the call amounts to a walkback in substance. When you have to explain yourself to anybody, you're always losing. And we'll see how all of these trade deals play out, because we know that some things may have been signed. Carney only signed a memorandum of understanding as well with China, so nothing's actually in the works either. It's all political, it's constant political posturing. Mr. Carney said he stands by his Davos speech. It was clear it was a broader set of issues, and Canada was the first country to understand the change in U.S. trade policy that he initiated, and we're responding to that, he said. We're responding positively by building partnerships abroad, building at home, and prepared to respond positively by building that new relationship with CUSMA, the Prime Minister said. The Prime Minister's relationship with the President came up again later in the day during the question period. The Bloc Québécois leader Yves-François Blanchet asked Mr. Carney if he could guarantee Canada will have cordial and normal trade negotiations with Washington. The Prime Minister didn't offer any guarantees. Still, discussions continue with the Americans. I had a 30-minute conversation with the President of the U.S. last night, Mr. Carney said. Mr. Blanchet said the bloc supports diversifying trade markets, but pointed out that the U.S. will remain the largest trading partner. Obviously, it's ridiculous to think that you wouldn't want to diversify your trade markets. You obviously want to diversify your trade markets, but you have to be realistic with what that means. The U.S. will always remain your largest trading partner. It's the only neighbor you have. And that neighbor just happens to be the largest market in the world that everybody tries to invest in. Quite literally, the whole world tries to invest still money in the U.S. It's a little funny for you to be, walking around saying our big strategy is to completely detach from the U.S. And so I want to stop here for a second. Again, there's more rhetoric here covering his retreat. His defense is we're responding positively by building relationships abroad. 12 new deals, 4 continents, 6 months. He's flying around the world, meeting with politicians, international politicians, trying to come up with these verbal agreements, because nothing's signed, nothing's put on paper that this and that's going to happen. We already know what these partnerships look like, right? It's that China deal, the 6.1% tariff on EVs, functionally free trade. It's that opened door to what China couldn't get through Mexico with the factory that they were building on the border with the U.S. Followed up by this Davos speech criticizing the U.S. and Trump threatening 100% tariffs. And then we also have those India's energy exports, right? There's no infrastructure to actually support that energy trading. The infrastructure that does exist is through the U.S. We have to send our oil through the U.S. to ship it from a U.S. port to go internationally. It's like Nutrien, the Saskatchewan-based potash company, using a port in Washington to export potash to Asian markets instead of going through BC. Why? Because our infrastructure sucks and we haven't built it, right? And so none of this math adds up, because even if we 4x the amount of exports, oil exports that we have going to India, we would still not even make a dent in the trade relationship with the U.S. And after that, obviously, Trump announced those tariffs. So those 12 deals, the 4 continents, is spin covering the fact that Trump's pressure is actually working. It's working. And Carney gave a provocative speech. He got threatened with tariffs. He called to explain himself. And now he's wrapping it up in building partnership language. And just notice something else, guys. When he was asked to guarantee normal trade negotiations with the U.S., he won't do it. He won't actually say everything is going to be fine. We're going to figure this out with the U.S. We need to figure this out with the U.S. At no point did he actually ever put a large emphasis on that relationship with the U.S., what that relationship needs to look like. And so when he was asked to guarantee a new deal by July 2026, he says that's the intention. I think there's a little bit more urgency with our trade relationship with the U.S. than that's the intention. Just a tad bit. I'm not quite sure, but I think there's a little bit more urgency. So you're calling the U.S. abnormal while being unable to guarantee anything. This is damage control. It's political posturing. He's going into an election cycle. He hasn't done anything of substance, actual substance, to help Canada at all. And he made a provocative speech, and now he has to support it somehow. And so you can't admit you're backing down. So you frame explaining yourself as to Trump as building partnerships and responding positively. That's what that looks like. I just want to get into why this really matters to Canadians, right? The thing is, this pattern we keep seeing with Carney. We have the Davos speech, middle powers must condemn economic coercion by allies. And then the reality comes in after Trump actually threatens tariffs even more. He calls to explain the China arrangement, talks about building partnerships, can't guarantee normal negotiations. But let me get this straight. We have controlled tariffs that were placed on Canada pending review for the new CUSMA talks. We at no point actually put an effort to fix that arrangement earlier so that our economy can stabilize and we can move forward, and then we can start building those international partnerships with India, with the South, with whomever. It doesn't really matter. No. Let's go build these partnerships and have our economy just continually fall into decay and call it pragmatism. That's basically what's happening. And the reality is we have the China EV deal after that, right? So it opens the doors to Chinese EVs, and he criticizes the U.S. at Davos for that. The reality is Trump threatened those 100% tariffs, and Carney explains himself. The India energy exports is the next thing. He announces diversification away from the U.S. The reality is we have no infrastructure right now to actually displace that effectively. We have to use U.S. infrastructure to export our oil to India. But We only have a memorandum of understanding written between Alberta and the federal government for building a pipeline west. And David Eby is complaining about First Nations and all of this stuff. So this is how functionally inept our government is. It's all political posturing. We're going to fly around the world talking all this stuff, but we can't get legislation signed to actually get things done. And obviously the math just doesn't add up. And the gap between the rhetoric and the reality, it continually widens, guys. And when the US pushes back, Carney always retreats while claiming he's standing his ground. If you work in a sector dependent on the US market access, whether it's cars, energy, manufacturing, you should be worried, guys, because the government is signaling defiance publicly while explaining itself privately, guys. This isn't strategy. That's creating risk without the leverage to actually sustain it. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you guys think. My name is Miloš Krajčnik. This is Canuck News. Stay informed, stay curious, and God bless Canada.
This is Canada. Maple syrup and like